Hello everyone, we're making this episode which we're gonna call photography. The subject came up rather unexpectedly to me, but surprise, surprise. And welcome to Patromotherapy.
Well, very good. I hope that everyone will enjoy our cover shot. That is a picture of a little girl standing, wearing a jumper and a little t-shirt, and if you notice, there is a bird on her head, and that bird is a parakeet. And for me, photography is about, you can never capture a moment in time. You can't really capture it, but it's just kind of recognizing a moment in time. So people will take photographs of weddings, or people can take photographs of birthday parties. But, for me, photography is just a moment in time in the river of life that just keeps on flowing.
So why did you choose the subject? Did you come across some sort of photograph or photo album which you have, or how did that come up?
Well, I have been a photographer for many, 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 many years, and I am sort of famous in my family and amongst friends for always taking snapshots and things and then printing them and giving them to the people. So nowadays, in the year 2020, not that many people are printing out photographs. They're just generally, screenshot or something on their phone, and they show it to someone or forward it, but they don't generally print out. But I have a lot of books of photographs of places I've traveled around the world: Germany, Turkey, New York, Arizona, all these different places. And I'm organizing some different things in my apartment, which is my ongoing quest, kind of my Sisyphus task, get organized. And I was coming across some photo albums, and this photo just fell out of a stack of things I was carrying to another room, and I thought, a moment in time. Here is a child who is standing there, and a bird has landed on her head. And it's interesting because you can see that we're on the inside of a building, not outside.
Do you have many photo albums where you can, which you can open now and then and see like vintage photography from the 60s, maybe, or 70s? Because I have some albums from my parents. I think there are pictures in it, like from 80 years ago. Do you have the same?
Yes, and also I am the treasurer of my family. Like many families often have one person who, like an old aunt or an old uncle or a grandmother, who has a drawer full of old photographs, or I'm kind of the treasurer of my family, and I have photographs that belong to my grandmother, photographs that belong to my great-grandmother. I have photographs that go back into the 1880s. So you are talking to like a photo, I don't want to use the word addict, but I'm very fond of photographs, and I do have photographs of my father in Turkey, and in Trabzon up on the Black Sea, and also in Berlin when my parents were wandering around in Berlin. So it's interesting to me, looking at these old photographs, I could see, well, what were they wearing? Well, look at those shoes, or look at the style and fashion. So yes, I have some old photographs. How about you?
Me too. I found an album recently, just accidentally. I came across this old album which contains a picture of my I think, dad and grandmother. I guess I would have dated this, I think, 1900 maybe.
Wow.
I don't know how the paper looks well, although it's more than 120 years old, and the image is quite well too. So I decided to digitally, how do you call that when you make another picture, we scan it, and make a new photograph, basically.
You want to enhance it, make it better, or just like
digitally
improve
enhance
the
it
quality?
and reprint it again. And it makes wonders nowadays. I mean,
Wow.
the software they have, if you give it to the laboratory, they can do wonders with your old pictures, and that, you can save that for the generations ahead, for the years ahead, for some people to see.
That's great. Let me ask you this: when you say it's grandparent, is it on your father's side or it's your mother's side? It's your mother's father's father, or what side of the family is it on?
It's
a grandfather. It's on
my father's side. It's strange to see those people looking at the lenses, because photography apparently was very rare thing in the day. Not very often you could have come to. It was an event. If you want to make a picture of yourself, you probably were preparing a day or two for the weekend, okay? And then you take your wife and your kids, and you sit still, look exactly where you're told to look, and then, boom, they make this picture.
Well, I was looking back at some old photographs of on my mother's side. My mother's father was Italian, and my great grandmother on the Italian side had 5 children, and her husband died when she was only 37 years old, and she was left in San Antonio, Texas, with 5 children, and her name was Matilda, and she became the matriarch of the family. So that family. So I have a picture of her sitting with her children around her, and it was taken in a studio. So everyone is wearing their best dress. They're wearing their very best shoes, and they're staring, as you said, straight ahead, rather seriously. And as you're talking, I'm thinking, back in the day, photography was more often used to capture a kind of more serious, setting or situation. Like nowadays, people are taking pictures of the most insane, hilarious, ridiculous things that evaporate as soon as you look at them. But I have an old photograph of this, great grandmother, Italian American great grandmother, and when you look at into the photograph, it's like you're seeing the person. Did you have that experience looking at the picture of the great-grandfather?
What do you mean, see a person? When I look at someone who lived before me 100 years ago, for instance, and probably was younger than I am now at the time, I always have this conflicting thoughts. Well, how is this possible? And what the time is, all that philosophy conundrum going on in my head.
Yes.
I'm also thinking that imagine that now, I don't know, something happens to the computers and nobody prints them out anymore. I mean, the pictures, right? Everyone's keeping them on the phone or I don't know where. And now something happens, all those pictures, they just disappear. 100 years of last 20 or 30 years of human history will, I don't know, probably will be cut by half at least, because there is no paper and there is no computers anymore or phones.
Well, I've actually thought about that as well, and one of the things that I have done, I have this personal belief that as long as someone either visits your grave or talks about you or sees a photograph, that you still live. You live in the memories of those that come after you. So if someone's visiting your grave, then you're sort of still alive. If they're looking at some old photographs of you living in Dallas, Texas, you're still alive. So one of the things I've done over the years is I have printed out and mailed to my nieces and to my nephews family history that I've written, and also photographs. And I have a young nephew. These are young guys that are 27, 24 years old. These 2 nephews of my brothers, sons of my brothers. And I mailed them a big envelope that had some family history and some photographs of when they were little boys at my mother's house. And one of them called me and said, "Aunt Pat, you know, it's so amazing. You have these ancient artifacts." I go. Well, we used to call him Little Bob, but his name is John now. I go, "John, those are not ancient artifacts. That's you at your grandmother's house." But see, from his point of view, to hold in his if he's just 27, for him to hold in his hand photographs, to him that is an ancient artifact. But to me, from the perspective of age, it's just him as a little boy around Christmas time with my daughters and his other cousins just at my mother's house. But that's just in one generation. That is in one generation. I am his aunt. So just think of, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of photographs lost in a fire or lost in a, during war or
understand,
all that stuff. It's just amazing.
Also, when I first saw the color photograph,
Yes.
yeah, I thought, wow, isn't it wonderful that the picture is colored like it was some kind of something out of revolutionary, and now some people even make it black on purpose because they don't want to see it in colors.
There's some different photography groups. There used to be some in the G+ communities or on Facebook or in MeWe world that are exclusively monochrome or exclusively black and white. You can join a photo community. Everybody who's posting is posting photos only in black and white. Yeah. And then, I have some photographs photos that I've had printed out that I shot on a real camera all over Istanbul and all over Ankara and all over Frankfurt and all that was shot on real black and white film. So the prints of that and the negatives I have, and if my little nephew would look at that, he would say, "Oh wow, look at these ancient artifacts. What are they?" Because someone 27 years old's never seen a negative. Right?
Maybe because I remember I was into photography when I was at school. I developed films, and I had this huge camera, and had to find the black room. Not the black room. How do you call that? Maybe it's called dark room. Yeah, because otherwise you would destroy your film. It had 36, I guess. You okay? Because there is this sounds that something dropped. No.
Right now?
You okay? No, now it's okay. It's just chirping sounds.
No, a book dropped.
Okay,
it's okay. We're still here.
Also,
no nuclear alert.
Well, okay, good. There's nukes. Also, when I look at I have some pictures dating back like 20 years ago, maybe 15. And I have the strange feeling I don't want to look at them. My personal, with my family, maybe
really?
People I know. I don't want to go back in time somehow. But when I see something that belongs to other people, I'm entirely interested in what is it and how it was with them.
Yeah. Well, I'm sort of the same way because if photographs are a moment in time, and I have all these photographs, and a lot of time has passed, but sometimes I'll look at a photograph and I will look into it, just like we looked into the life of the fictional characters Stiva and Livin and Vronsky. We look into their life in the novel Anna Karenina. When I look into a photograph, I don't really want to remember what happened in that photograph because it's a moment in time, but I also connect it to what else happened that afternoon and then what happened.
Same with me.
To that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for example, that photograph of the little girl with the parakeet on her head was taken at a summer house.
Is that you on the picture? Or
it's one of my daughters, and it's at my Shahsene is an old aunt in Turkey who had a summer property, and we were all invited to go to Shahsene summer house. Because I guess it's the same idea as in Russia. You live in the city in Ankara or Istanbul, and then you have your summer house. So we were all invited to the summer house, and then, she loves to cook, and they had lots of food, and they had beautiful gardens, and it was so wonderful to get away from the city. I was living in Houston at the time. And then now I look at that photograph and I think, oh, Shahseni has been dead for years, and, I wonder what's happened to that house. Like, I get very attached to places. So, someone might say, like, oh, there's a little kid with a parakeet on her head. I didn't want to have all these feelings, but I looked at that photograph for a moment and I thought, wow, time goes by.
Yeah, time flies. Then again, what time is? Because sometimes you cannot wait for another hour, and sometimes 20 years go by, you don't even notice.
Well, I know that when the microwave was invented, I did not like microwaves because I thought if microwaves can go through walls and cell phones can go through, if the vibrations and everything can go through walls, then it can also go through our skin. And so I refused to get a microwave because I thought those microwaves were going to be harmful. But I can remember, before the invention of the microwave, you just like warm something up on the stove and you're just standing there stirring, waiting for something to warm up. And then I would go to different people's houses and they would like put something in a microwave and they'd be like so annoyed. They'd be so anxious, just waiting for a minute and a half to pass. And I just thought of how the microwave altered our experience of time, because I go to somebody's house for coffee and then they'd have some little rolls or something they wanted to heat up and they'd run to the kitchen trying to heat it up and they'd come back just like completely annoyed. I mean, I would just rather not have had the microwave. Do you remember when microwaves were invented, or do you like microwaves?
I didn't like them specifically. I found them convenient, but I didn't like them specifically, and I'm glad we get rid of them. But I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing. I felt some kind of a prejudice towards them. But speaking of time, I remember I tried to make a picture of stars in the night, especially the Milky Way and stuff. It was especially hard because you had to have special equipment and
wow.
I don't remember how you call this, all the settings you make.
Telescope lens.
Yeah. And when you see the star, you look at the star, you know that the light from that star probably was going to the Earth, have come to the Earth.
It's already been burned out, but you're photographing
maybe,
it.
But you can just see it because it's been traveling through space for instance, I don't know, over a million years, right? And you just see it, but the star doesn't exist anymore. And I read the article the other day that James Webb Space Telescope, they just launched it, I guess, that a month ago.
Yes.
They made the first images, and I thought, just 100 years ago, we were a rural society who, I don't know, lived the way that people lived for 50,000 years before. And now we dropped bombs to each other. We made it almost, we were going to the Mars. Okay, if we are, I don't know, we've been to the moon.
Oh yeah.
And it's such a
electric
huge
cars,
progress.
everything.
Yeah, microwave stuff. Such a progress for the 100 years. Well, let's start it, okay, from 1920, for instance, when
or even just say the turn of the century, like 1899. 1899 is around the time where we are just randomly happen to choose some novels, some poems, like the turn of the century, turning into a more modern world just in the past, 10, 15, 20 years, or just in my lifetime, and looking at the time frame of my nephews who are 27, 28, something like that, 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such a quantum leap in how life is.
Absolutely.
I am astonished, and I think we're living in kind of a transformational age.
You ever tried to picture some kind of a ghost or something that's not visible with the eye? You ever had that idea that you have to make a picture of something
sure.
other people don't see? You ever tried that?
Well, yes. I remember waking up, and I had a chest of drawers that had clothes in it, and a mirror on top of it, and it was at an angle. And I remember feeling, it was nighttime, and I felt a presence in the room. And I sat up from my sleep, and I had the strange feeling that it was, that this is the truth, this is a true story. I had the strange feeling that it was a certain ancestor visiting me, the spirit of an ancestor. And I just said, no, go back, not now. And I saw this apparition disappear into the mirror. It was an unusual experience.
Yeah, but you
think that mirrors are portals.
But you didn't specifically set the camera to capture this ghost, for instance, or.
No, I was asleep. I'm just saying, yeah.
And you wasn't chasing it, whereas I'm talking about is some kind of
chasing the ghost, go to a haunted house and try to. I haven't actively done that, but stuff like that has happened to me.
Actively, because sometimes when I had films, and maybe that was just a defect, or how do you call this? When you develop the film, you may accidentally damage the part of it, and it looked like there was something else on the picture, and you think, well, what if it's
yes. Oh yes, I have one. I have to find it. I'm so excited. I have a picture that I'm with my other daughter, and we are window shopping. I don't know, are we in Paris? Where are we? We're someplace. Like, maybe we're in Paris. And she just turned and looked at me for a second and had such a cute expression on her face. I thought, I'm going to snap a picture. I said, let's do that again. And then I just took my camera. It was a real camera, not a cell phone. And I took the picture. And then when I developed the pictures, in the vitrine, which is the shop window, it was at night, there was the apparition of something else in the picture. It was absolutely phenomenal, just unbelievable. And it wasn't something that I didn't consciously say, I'm taking a picture of a ghost. I just was in Paris, and I was with my daughter, and I said, oh, like, you look so cute, let me take your picture. And she just like twisted her head and looked back real quickly, and then there was a moment that I captured that I didn't even know what it was until I developed the picture, and I saw on the picture something that I didn't even know was going to be there. Is that what you mean? Stuff like that?
Yeah.
Now, as I was growing up, my father had photography as a hobby, and he was a bit of a loner. He was very, very smart. He was a world traveler because he was in military intelligence. And I have all these pictures that he had his own dark room. And I remember, even when I was very young, that he was taking pictures, and like he would set up these little photo shoots for me to, sit on this little sofa, or my mother would dress me up, and I would be going in for my photo shoot, which just at home, but he had his dark room. But that's when there were just maybe 3 kids. Once he had 4 or 5 or 6. I'm a total of 6. Once there were 6 of us, the dark room kind of became a luxury.
I've just. I remember I sent you a picture of my school class, and
oh yes,
that was a couple of years ago. And then I read interesting facts about people who, if there was a group photograph and you were given it, first person you're looking at is yourself. I don't know why, but I've tried that myself a few times, and that goes exactly like this. So if you're having a group picture, you like ignore everyone and you start looking for yourself. Did you ever have this feeling?
Yes.
I don't know how it works.
Yes,
that's strange.
I have a photograph, a very old photograph. I'll send to you, or maybe we can post in another episode. It's of my mother's father as a young man. He's maybe 17, 18, 19 years old, under 20. He's not married. He's playing in a basketball game. And I have another one where he's in a baseball game in San Antonio. The name of the team is the Orioles, which is some birds. And it's these fellows sitting on these benches. And to me, it looks like a very ancient historic picture, which I guess it is. But the first thing I do is try to look to see which one is my grandfather. Because, see, I know my grandfather is an older man, my grandfather. I don't know him as a 18-year-old boy. And it's interesting to look into a group photograph who you're looking for. Exactly, yes.
Well, you're looking for yourself. If there is you in it, the first person you're looking for is yourself. But if there is no you on it, I don't know. I just tried to imagine who would I looked for. But anyway, the photography, they evoke emotions and make you feel happy or sad. I'm trying to understand which one out of what I have make me most happy or most sad. And do you have any photograph that you can name that this photograph makes me most happy? Do you have anything in your album like that?
Yeah, I have many albums. I might have 40 or 50 albums, plus albums that my grandmother kept, and plus albums that my mother kept, and plus, like, I not only have my albums, but I have the albums of previous generations. So, I have a photograph. I have a photograph of a picnic. It's in color, and it's in Istanbul. There are two castles on the Bosphorus. One, they're Crusaders' castles, and one is called Rumelihisari. Which, Rumelihisari. People can go there for picnics now, and I have a wonderful picture of the family gathered. Everybody brought something. Aunts, the Turkish aunts and uncles, and my husband's sisters cooked things, and it's just this picture of all this beautiful food. Like, I love food and photographing food, and it's just this very, I won't say it's the happiest photo I have, but it is a happy photo of, these people in the summertime. Everybody cooked things and brought things, and we didn't use Tupperware. We had little baskets and things, and we just laid all this out, and everyone was sort of laying around, sitting around, and maybe somebody had a guitar or something, and it was just like a beautiful moment in time.
Nice.
Well, should we end there, or would you like to share about a photograph that you have enjoyed looking at?
No, I'll keep that for now.
That sounds good. Well, we know that some of our listeners also take photographs of trains and of clouds and of art museums, so we welcome you to subscribe and to like and to listen to another episode of Petroma Therapy. So, adios for now.
Adios.